like tax cuts. What do you think on that? You think that our taxes will be raised if Kamala is under presidency, or you think it will be raised if Trump's under presidency?
Well, it's tough because neither of them are going to increase our taxes on paper, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be in the effects of their tax policies. So, for example, Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump in 2017 put forth the Jobs and Tax Act. And this Jobs and Tax Act gave a 1 to 2% tax cut to the middle class. It gave a 14% tax cut to corporations. Now, in part, some people thought that this would lead to trickle-down economics, but that didn't happen. For example, Apple's CEO walked away with more money at the end of Donald Trump's term pre-pandemic than he walked in at the get-go of the new administration, thanks to that 14% corporate tax deduction. The money was meant to go down to the middle class. They didn't send it because, fun fact, if you give corporations more money, then they're not going to pass it down. They're going to pass it up. Yeah. So we got to recognize that that didn't happen. We have PepsiCo, another good example. PepsiCo owns Gatorade, passed up the cost from the 14% corporate tax deduction up the chain, cut, the size of Gatorade, increased the cost.
Yeah.
So again, price gouging, you see that rising costs on middle class consumers. So we got to recognize that because of that 14% corporate tax deduction, middle class consumers lost out. And additionally, this led to an $8 trillion debt. And corporations don't pay that off. Middle class Americans pay that off. Gotcha. And it's also important to recognize here that Donald Trump, at the same time as that 1 to 2% tax cut for the middle class, which, great, I think he should have had it the other way around, give 14% to the middle class, 1 to 2% to corporations, for the point that corporations were already making record high profits, so it didn't really, they didn't need it. However, and this is why Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis ran against him, there were tariffs he put into place. And not all tariffs are bad. I like tariffs. There is a couple tariffs there that it was pretty bad. For example, the 15 to 25% tariff on agriculture, which had a direct impact on rising costs for produce. So the cost of produce went up because farmers had an export crisis, a surplus in supply and demand issue, passed off rising costs to small businesses. I used to operate a small business, so my business was impacted, and we raised costs on middle-class consumers. This led to about a $230 billion tax hike. So taxes went up, but you don't notice that because it's not on paper. So people who got that 1 to 2% tax cut for the middle class from Donald Trump, which again, that's cool, that's great, should have been more, but still, take what we get, lost more out of pocket than they got in their pocket, right? Kamala, on the other hand, I like her policy because she's saying that she's going to take the 14% corporate tax deduction that led to the $8 trillion debt. She's going to strip that away from corporations. Some people, not economists, just some people, like random people, argue that that's going to lead to an issue because then corporations won't make profits. They had record high profits before the 14% corporate tax deduction, so it don't really matter. She's saying that she's going to take that 14%, they'll keep making the record high profits. She's going to take that money and channel it into the middle class, where it should have been from the get-go of the administration. That's where it should have been to begin with. She's going to take that, and that's going to lead into a $25,000 down payment for first-time home buyers, $50,000 for small business entrepreneurs, the small businesses that were suffering due to the tariffs that Donald Trump's administration had implemented. Again, not all of them, but some of them, like that agriculture tariff. And then she's also going to give a $6,000 permanent child tax credit from that 14% corporate tax deduction, and that is going to lead to first-time parents being able to have
I did not know that, so that's interesting.
But yeah, so that's something that I love about her policy. I like that she's going to take away that 14% corporate tax deduction. She's not going to reallocate funds from she's not going to tax people. You know what I'm saying? She's not going to tax the middle class to give it back to the middle class. She's saying she's going to take away the corporate tax deduction and give it to the middle class, which is where it should have gone. Because right now we're paying for that corporate tax deduction that Donald Trump gave to corporations, and I don't like that. I don't like paying taxes for some corporation who's hiking up costs on me anyway so that they could get a tax cut. That ain't fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, well, that's interesting. I did not know that, so I definitely put that in a point of view. I think it's for sure a lot to think about, Johnny, so you for sure opened my mind up, so I appreciate it. I do got to run, but it was nice talking to you, man.
I appreciate it coming up, man. You have a good one, okay?
Thank you, brother. You too.
All right, folks. Again, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. If you're voting for Kamala Harris, hit that like button. Please do hit that share button. Help us get to 200,000 likes. Every second of tonight's live matters because the day after tomorrow is election day. So we are going to be going quick here. We are going to keep this educational. We are going to have some fun with some entertainment as well. Ash, thank you so much for the galaxy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Folks, if you do want to support me, speaking of what Ash just did, thank you, Ash. If you want to support me, my Venmo, PayPal, my Cash App are in my bio. Those funds go towards my travel as I meet voters these next few days across the swing state of Pennsylvania. Right now, I'm in the Northeast, and it's been a pretty good day. I just met Robert De Niro, so we're having a good day. So again, if you are, interested in supporting me, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App in my bio. Mike, hi, how you doing? All right, we're going to move on. I don't got time for this. Let's get up our next guest. If you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about that. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Yes, sir, I am. How you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. Why are you voting for Trump?
There's a number of reasons, but I'll start off with one that most of your audience probably never heard of. Towards the end of his last year, he signed executive order, was it 17979? This executive order went after, the point of it was to get rid of something called the Senior Executive Services. The Senior Executive Services was a body of bureaucrats, about 10,000 of them, that have been in power since the 70s. They were started by the Civil Reform Act. They are essentially the bureaucrats that are at the levers of power in D.C. They're the ones that have been undermining Democratic.
All right, listen, this sounds fine and dandy. I hear you. Man.
Why don't you let me
I hear you.
Listen,
I hear you. Hey, nobody cares, right? I'm gonna be so real with you. Nobody cares about some bureaucrats and whatever you're talking about. People care about. Hey! I'm trying to talk. People care. People care about how you're gonna put money into their pocket. Hey! People care how you're going to put money in their pocket. People care how you're going to protect the right to choose. People care how you're going to protect union rights. People care how you're going to cut costs. People care how you're going to cut their taxes. You're not talking about that. So let's start off on the economy here. All right, I appreciate whatever executive order you're talking about, but redundant. So let's get into this. Can you tell me one economic policy that Donald Trump passed that benefited middle class Americans?
Undermining the entire.
Thank you. Can you tell me one economic policy that Donald Trump passed that benefited middle class Americans?
You ask people questions and you don't let them answer.
I'm waiting for an answer to the question I just asked.
I'm giving you the answer. There is an entire body of bureaucrats in D.C. that are responsible.
I don't care about these bureaucrats you're talking about. I don't need that. I don't have my tinfoil hat, but if I did, I would put it on. Can you tell me again? I want to hear an economic policy that Donald Trump passed during his first term to benefit middle class Americans. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm trying to finish the thought.
All right. Talk about that policy. Don't talk about this redundant executive order about bureaucrats who overrun the shadow government. I don't care.
Well, if you don't care, that means you don't understand who they are. You're just demonstrating.
I don't care about the shadow government. Yeah, I'm not interested in talking about some shadow government. I'm interested in talking about how we're going to put food on the table for Americans, right? I'm interested in how we're going to protect the rights and freedoms of Americans. So I'm waiting for
electoral process.
All right, listen, I'm not talking. Let's move on. I ain't talking about some sort of shadow government. Low key, I just don't care, right? If you think there's a shadow government, fine and dandy. I don't think there's a shadow government. I don't care, right? So again, if I'm asking you for a policy that benefited the middle class economically, please tell me what that is. If you're going to tell me, oh, well, the shadow government's going to be taken out. All right, you keep arguing and fighting that shadow government. I just don't care to join you in that fight. I don't care about some shadow government that you think exists. Hello, guest. Salem, are you voting for Donald Trump?
Yes, sir.
All right, and why so?
Because all my Muslim brothers are.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to end the war.
Gotcha.
Brother.
So when Donald Trump implemented that ban on Muslim Americans, forcing them out of the country, right? Not letting them back in to greet their families, head home to their communities, hug their loved ones. Did you support that Muslim travel ban, yes or no?
What ban?
I asked you, did you support that Muslim travel ban, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, you did.
I mean, what's best
oh, wow.
for America?
So you like some Muslims, right? Just if you know them, but forget all the rest, yeah?
No, I'm Muslim, brother.
I get it. You're saying you're Muslim and you support the Muslim travel ban.
Yes, Donnie.
You know that affects you, right?
Yes, Donnie,
you go
yes.
travel. You go
yes,
travel.
Donnie. Yeah, I travel.
And then you don't come back.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Are you leaving the live? What happened?
No. I do come back.
No, you don't come back. That's the whole point of the ban. Let me better understand this. So Donald Trump's Muslim travel ban, which led to Muslim Americans, for example, not being allowed or permitted back into the United States, even when they had the proper documentation and passports proving that they were American citizens. That Muslim ban that was found unconstitutional, that Muslim ban that wouldn't let people back into the country to visit their loved ones and hug their children. This was Donald Trump's first action as president.
I traveled in 2016.
That's fine and dandy. 2016, Donald Trump was not president in 2016.
In 2017,
Barack Obama was president in 2016. I'm glad you had a good time in 2016. Let's say thanks, Obama, in the chat. Here's what we're going to do. Do you actually know what the Muslim travel ban is or when it was signed?
Johnny, what are we going to do?
Do you know when it was signed?
What are we going to do, Johnny?
Do you know when it was signed?
Johnny, hey, you want me to take you to Panera? We'll talk about this.
I don't have time for this, man. But you could feel free to drop a $20 in my PayPal and I'll get myself some Panera. Let's get up our next guest. If you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. We got, guys, the day after tomorrow's election day. We're going to keep this going. Folks, if you want to support me, my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, those are in my bio. That fund is used as I travel the swing state of Pennsylvania, meeting voters over these last few days. Or if you want, hit that follow button in the top left corner and join our family. Let's get up our next guest here. Again, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest requests.
Hey, Johnny, much respect that you follow politics too. A lot of people
I wasn't talking to you yet. Was I talking to you?
Oh, no, I just wanted to come in and say I wanted to say first.
Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Yes. So,
all right. So let's start there.
Okay.
Thank you. Can you tell me? Pardon me. Excuse me. Can you tell me why you're voting for the criminal, sexual abuser, and civil fraudster?
See, the way that's formulated is
not formulated. If Donald Trump was a construction union member, I would say, why are you voting for the construction union member? He's not. So I'm going to say, why are you voting for the sexual abuser, civil fraudster, and felon? Because that's what he is. So why are you voting for the sexual abuser, civil fraudster, and felon? Don't care about big corporations. What I want to know is why you're voting for the criminal. Start with that. Start with the criminal part, right? Go ahead.
I don't want to. I'm talking about big. You came in here to debate. I came in here to debate with you. I wanted to talk.
Fine and dandy. So let's start off with the fact that you're voting for a criminal, sexual abuser, and civil fraudster. Let's start with that. And don't start stuttering on me. I hear your voice shaking. Don't do that. Come on, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Take a deep breath if you need it. I don't really care. I don't want to hear about these big corporations yet. We'll talk about big corporations for about 20 minutes when we get to the economy. No, we're going to talk about the fact that you're voting for a criminal right now. That's what we're going to do. You want to run away? Should I get my cowbell?
No, I'm not running away. I wanted to talk to you.
So tell me again, why are you voting for a criminal, sexual abuser, and civil fraudster? Let's go.
Well, for one, at least he doesn't think there's more than two genders. So, it's pretty delusional to think a biological male is a female.
Donald Trump doesn't know gender. What are you talking about?
No, you just...
Hey, chat, help me out here. Who is the rapper that Donald Trump had join him on stage and he kept referring to him as a woman? Hold on a second, Matthew. Hold on. Chat, help me out here. Who was the rapper that Donald Trump had on stage and ended up Nicky Jams? He kept calling Nicky Jams a woman. Nicky Jams is a man. Nicky Jams looks like a man. Nicky Jams identifies as a man. And yet he kept saying Nicky Jams is a woman. It referred to her as her on stage in front of millions of people and then said she's a great woman. Okay. Don't talk about gender. Your own candidate doesn't know gender. All right? Matthew, where were you born? What state are you from, man?
I'm actually from Canada.
Yeah, so Matthew, here's what we're going to do, right? Next time somebody from out of country comes up here, whether you're from Canada, Europe, I don't care. If you think you're going to tell me or any American in this chat, right or left, what candidate they're going to vote for, we're all going to go take a big bucket of tea and dump it in the Boston Harbor because apparently you need to learn who's boss again. Let's get up our next guest. Man, I am sick of Europeans or like people from other countries trying to get all involved in countries. It's weird.
I don't give a fuck how much you get taxed. You gotta build.
What's good, bro?
Hold on one sec. It's breaking up. Let me fix that, man. Do you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you wonderfully.
All right, cool. Fetus deletus! Poof! And he's gone. Let's get up our next guest. I'm glad that you could hear that. If you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. If you're voting for Kamala Harris, please hit that like button, hit the share button. We are almost at 200,000 likes. If you want to support me, I greatly appreciate it. If you like what you're hearing today, my Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, they're in my bio. I want to say first off a massive thank you to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, thank you so much for the $20 and the kind message. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeffrey. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Hi, consider voting against genocide and for Jill Stein.
Yeah, all right, so let me get this right. Why do you want to dehome and obliterate the Palestinian people?
I just said consider voting against genocide.
But let me get this right. So you're coming up here, and you're gaslighting America into thinking you stand for the Palestinian people. I have two issues with your candidate. First issue, and this is among many other issues, we could talk about Russia. We could talk about the fact she doesn't know how many representatives are in Congress. Speaking of, how many representatives are in the U.S. House? Do you know? Damn. All right, so then let's better understand this. Here's what I want you to understand, okay? You're going to come up here, and you're going to tell me that people should vote for Jill Stein when your candidate, one, has a blatant transphobic and homophobic running mate. Yeah? Who has spewed that rhetoric, I ain't done, who has spewed that rhetoric in tweets and never chose to delete them. That's your candidate, yeah? You picked that as your vice president? All right. You're not as progressive as you think you are. Second issue with your candidate. You come up here and you want to say that you stand for the Palestinian people, but your candidate, but your candidate doesn't stand for what Kamala Harris stands for. Kamala Harris is saying ceasefire, two-state solution, and bring the hostages home. But you're going to gaslight America into thinking that what? Kamala's not going to serve to exactly what you hope and wish for? Let's get this right. You are quite literally advocating for a third-party candidate that will never be president. And thank God for that. So you have Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and one of them are going to be your president. Jill Stein ain't going to do shit because she can't do shit, right? So let's better understand this one more time. You are throwing the Palestinian people under the bus because if Donald Trump becomes your president, they will be dehomed. They will be finished off as exactly as Donald Trump said he would. So one more time, you're going to stop gaslighting America. You're going to either vote for Kamala Harris and fight for the Palestinian people, or you can vote against the ceasefire, the two-state solution, and the hostage deal, and vote for Donald Trump, who is going to overthrow the Palestinian people and dehome them. Don't come on my live and tell me that you're going to waste your vote on some third-party illiterate who doesn't even know how many people are in the U.S. House. Get your ass out of here. Good riddance. Crazy ass. I think that she's gonna pop into my live stream and start talking shit to me. I don't think so. All right, the one.
Yo, what's up, Johnny?
Justin, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. You?
Doing good.
That's good. Nah, man. I just.
How old are you, man?
I'm 18.
All right, you're a first-time voter. What year were you born?
2006.
Gotcha. You voting for Donald Trump?
Yeah.
All right, and why so?
Why so?
Yep.
Honestly, I like his policy about the no tax on overtime. It's probably my favorite
Break that
one.
down. No tax on overtime, though. There's an issue here, right?
What's the issue?
Can you tell me what the issue is? I mean, it sounds like you know his economic policy, so I'm sure you know what the issue is.
I mean, you want to explain the issue?
Dude, this is your candidate. Do you want to explain the issue, or do I really need to do it?
You're the debater. I don't do this for a living. What's the issue?
All right, but you're coming up to debate on behalf of your candidate, right? I asked you to come up here.
Then I'm asking
you asked
what's
to
the
come
issue?
up here, and I let you. So let's better understand this. Donald Trump in 2017 initiated his Jobs and Tax Act. This gave a 1% to 2% tax deduction to the middle class. 1% to 2%. 2% if you were a good boy and good little girl that year. Most people got 1%. If you were in the 25% tax bracket, for example, you were pushed into a 24% tax bracket. That's 1%. Right? He gave corporations 14%. The issue here, first off, corporations were already making record high profits. We understand that? So they didn't need the 14% corporate tax deduction. The 1% to 2% middle class tax deduction, they could have used that 14% corporate tax deduction because we could always get, even though costs were good. Costs were good under Obama. Costs can always still be lower. I ain't done.
Good.
So we recognize that this 14% corporate tax deduction led to an $8 trillion debt. Donald Trump, $8 trillion. That's an $8 trillion tax hike on the middle class because we pay that off, not corporations. Donald Trump additionally, and while like this, for example, gave you a 1% to 2% tax deduction, which is the equivalent of that no tax on overtime policy, he increased tariffs. And not all tariffs are bad, but the 15 to 25% tariff on agriculture that led to farmers having a surplus in supply and demand issue alongside an export crisis led to a $230 billion tax hike on the middle class via produce. at the grocery store, wherever you go, ShopRite, Giant, Kroger, I don't care. Your costs went up at a higher rate than the money you got back into your pocket from the 1 to 2% tax cut. Donald Trump's doing it again, right? Same deal. Copy and pasted the same exact plan, but replaced the name. And I'll make this quick because I know I'm rambling. The no tax on tips, no tax on overtime policy, that's going to be nothing. That's going to be pennies in comparison to the $2,500 to $4,000 and the additional $3 trillion tax hike he's going to take out of the pockets of middle-class Americans every year from his tariff policy. He wants to put a 60% tariff on China, 20% across the board, and re-implement those tariffs like the 15 to 25% tariff on agriculture. That is going to hike up costs on middle-class Americans. He has already accepted this, came forward, and said, yes, I am going to hike up your costs, but hey, maybe eventually it'll trickle down from the top 1%. Maybe eventually it'll trickle down from corporations. Trickle-down economics does not work. It didn't work in the 80s. It gave George H.W. Bush a recession. It didn't work in the 2000s. It gave George Bush a market crash and a borderline Great Depression. So let's stop playing here. You're saying you're voting for him based off of his economic stance, but his economic stance is to rip you off, rip me off, so that he could give money to mass corporations and billionaires. They don't need more money.
I can talk now? Alright, I have another question. Why are we so worried about the middle class?
Dude. Yeah, I know
The
Ian.
middle class is comfortable living, is it not?
Oh, I still got the sticker on that too.
Is it not middle class comfortable living?
Bro, I know for a fact you didn't.
Isn't that
say.
above average?
Let me better understand this. No, the middle class is average. That is what the middle class is. Middle means average.
So that means they're
hold on.
comfortable living, right?
You asked the question and I'm answering. You're welcome.
Okay.
I'm going to provide an answer. First off, you didn't respond to what I said regarding Donald Trump's tax policy. I assume that means you concede and he in fact is going to increase costs and you recognize that. I'm glad. Now, let's get past that and now recognize you're saying, oh, the middle class, it's comfortable living. Why are we concerned with them? One, the middle class is the backbone of the economy. They are the most people, Darksided, thank you for the galaxy, man. They are the most people, the workers uplifting union jobs, union workers, union relations that keep our economy afloat. Okay? The middle class is everything. For example, you can live without Microsoft. You cannot live without the middle class. If we have no middle class, we have no economy. Which is why Kamala's running on an economy that's going to start from the center, the middle class, work its way out. Donald Trump is saying we're going to go right to the top and hope it trickles down. That does not work. It's never worked in our history. If it did, you tell me when. You tell me when. When did trickle-down economics work?
Yeah, man, I'm completely lost. You just kept on talking.
I ain't keep talking, man.
Lost it.
Don't act like that. Don't listen. Don't gaslight people. You don't know how to respond because you are uneducated. Don't come around and say that I'm speaking too fast or that I'm mumbling or blah blah blah. Everybody in the chat understood what I said. You didn't. So that's either a processing issue for you or you're ignorant. Recognize that. Do more research. Then cast your vote. Right? All right. You have a good one now. I need to keep on this. Bye-bye. Let's get up our next guest. Folks, again, if you like what you're hearing today and you want to support me, my Venmo and PayPal, Cash App, those are in my bio. Let's get up the next guest. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump? Do we have any mods on, by the way?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on. Although I wish I didn't hear you. Do we have any mods on?
Says the guy that just put on some...
All right, hold on. Can you keep crying? It's called lip balm. Maybe if your lips weren't so chapped, people would consider kissing you.
Faggot? Faggot.
All right, I'm not going to get hate crimed up here for free. Somebody drop a 20. Yeah, all right, eat me. Let's get up our next guest. Where? I'm just getting hate crimed up here for free. I will end this live. I don't even care. I'll go canvas instead. I don't even care. This is like, I'm just getting hate crimed up here because some MAGA Republicans are too sensitive and they recognize that their candidate's about to lose the election. Let's get this right, MAGA Republicans. You are on the precipice of the election. The election is the day after tomorrow. You do not have the opportunity to come up here spewing the F slur. Do you understand? Mind you, that if your candidate loses, for example, the LGBTQ plus vote, you lose the election. If your candidate loses the Black American vote, you lose the election. If your candidate loses the Puerto Rican vote, you lose the election. So you ought to start spewing some unifying rhetoric instead of this hate-filled ignoramus rhetoric you've been spewing for the past 4 years, because it does not work. It does not work. This is why you're behind in the polls. This is why Kamala Harris raised $1 billion in fundraising and you did not. This is exactly why Kamala Harris is going to be holding another concert tomorrow among the previous rally she just held with 75,000 people at it, and your candidate can't get 12 people at his vice president's press conference? I don't know. It sounded more like they were all there just to pity JD Vance. But anyway, besides that, get off your high horse, get in the field, maybe try, spewing some sort of unifying rhetoric instead of the nonsense you've been saying, okay? All right, let's get up our guest here. Tori, hi, unmute.
Hello.
Tori, why are you voting for Donald Trump? I want to say a massive thank you first off to Heather and Michaela. Thank you so much for the $10 on Cash App. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Michaela wanted me to tell you, Tori, that she hates you. I don't know why. Anyway, so why are you voting for Donald Trump?
I already voted for him.
Now I get why she hates you. Also, I want to say a massive thank you to Jalise and also James. Thank you so much for the $25 for reparations. Thank you so much for the love. Thank you. Thank you, James. All right, so why'd you vote for a criminal? Can you tell me one economic policy that Donald Trump passed that benefited middle-class Americans? Go ahead.
I can't tell you a policy, but I know that when I was...
Let's get this right. You can't tell me a single policy he's passed that economically benefited the middle class. That speaks volumes to how ineffective your candidate was during his first term as president. You're telling me that he was in office for 4 years and he didn't pass a single policy that economically benefited middle class Americans, yeah? That's what you're saying? That's what you just said.
So do you think the economy's doing good right now?
Statistically, you don't gotta ask me. Go ask the economists, right? Right? We know it's doing good. We know it's doing good. We know it's doing good. What is the inflation rate today?
So why does
What is the inflation rate today?
Why does Kamala
What is the inflation rate today?
lowering prices of groceries?
What is the inflation? What is the inflation rate today?
2.5.
Okay, no, that's wrong. What is it today?
Is it 2.4? Oh, it went
no,
up?
that's wrong. What is it today?
It went up, huh?
Nope. Try again. Darlene, thank you so much for the $50. Darlene said $50 for I hate this guest, Tori. Darlene, thank you so much for the love. And Tori, thank you for being so easily hateable. No, yeah, thank you, Tori. Tori, I can't wait because I'm going to use those funds to travel around the suburbs of Philadelphia and meet voters. And then we're going to win this election for Kamala. I mean, you're a Trump supporter and yet you're doing more for Kamala than, a lot of people have done. So thank you, Tori. Yeah. Let's get some W Tories in the chat and some W Kamalas. All right. So tell me again, you don't know what the inflation rate is today, but you want to talk about rising costs. It's 2.1%. In 2018, pre-pandemic, before because we're not going to blame Donald Trump for the 9% inflation rate. That ain't fair. That's not his fault. That's a global pandemic. You understand that?
Right.
Okay. So what was the inflation rate under Donald Trump in 2018? This is after you would have felt the effects. That's not true. This is after the effects. Excuse me. This is after you felt the effects of Barack Obama's economy, after Donald Trump had the chance to include some financial footing for his own economy. Because if you say 1.9, that's Barack Obama. Donald Trump never implemented a policy by this time.
Well, what year was 1.9%?
Excuse me. 2018, it was 2.4. You're talking about 2017. That was Barack Obama. Donald Trump didn't implement some sort of financial footing by that point. You wouldn't have felt the effects of anything he accomplished. And then I'm saying 2018, because once you move into 2019, you start feeling trickle-down economics, and that decreased, and it led to a higher inflation rate. So I'm not gonna, because the pandemic was afloat. We're not gonna get into that. We're approaching 2020. I'm not gonna blame him for the 9% inflation rate. I don't think that's fair. That's not him. So we go with 2018, and that is why. That is why Fox News goes with 2018. Kim, thank you so much for the Galaxy. I appreciate it. So let's get this right. Our inflation rate in America was 2.4% just about 2 weeks ago. Since then, it's been on the decrease. It's now 2.1%. It's slated by January to get to 1.3%, 1.4%. Okay? You tell me, why is the inflation rate today 2.1%, but under Donald Trump, his average in 2018 was 2.4%? Can you break that down for me?
I thought it was 2.4
Cool.
just a few weeks ago.
I don't actually need you. I just said that it was 2.4% a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now it's 2.1.
It's decreasing.
It's correct.
Okay, now it's 2.1. So that's awesome that Biden and Harris are finally doing their fucking job. That's great.
It's not that they're just doing the job. It's that they have spent their entire administration healing the economy in a pandemic response from what Donald Trump threw.
Because it's Trump's fault.
Pardon me. I didn't say it's Trump's fault. I said I wasn't going to blame Donald Trump for the 9% inflation rate, did I not? I did say that.
You did say that. You're right.
Great. So now let's recognize you're saying that Kamala and Joe are only getting the inflation rate down to, what, lower than Donald Trump's average in 2018 because they're doing their job now? Dude, they've been doing their job for 4 years. A pandemic is a global catastrophe that happens once every century. Let's not act like they were going to solve that overnight, yeah? There's a reason why Donald Trump didn't solve it overnight. It's not how it works. So can you tell me if it's 2.1% today, if that's the inflation rate, and the inflation rate under Donald Trump's average in 2018 was 2.4, the 0.3% is not going to make a big difference. So it's pretty much identical. Let's just recognize that. You tell me, why would costs at the grocery store be higher today than they were 8 years ago, for example?
8 years ago. That was Obama, right?
Just about. Yeah, you're on the precipice of both those two terms. So can you tell me?
Tell you why they're more expensive now than they were 8 years ago because of inflation?
You could also pick 4 years ago, and that's fine. You can say 4 years ago. Listen, again, why are groceries more expensive today than they were years ago, just any years ago, if the inflation rate is lower today than it was under Donald Trump? The inflation rate is lower today than it was under Trump, but grocery costs are higher today than they were at the get-go of Donald Trump's term, at the end of Obama's term. Can you tell me why that might be?
No.
It's just 2 words, man.
I have no idea.
Bro, you got to rely on the chat for this stuff, right? The chat's helping you, man.
Oh, corporate greed? That's what someone said.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, corporate greed, right? You have companies like Kroger, for example, which just about 6-7 weeks ago, their CEO came forward and admitted to price gouging. I mean, we knew that they were doing it, right? Because if a thing of fucking toilet paper is like $4, that's obviously not normal. It's not on par with the 2.1, 2.4 inflation rates that we've seen in the administrations. That means that they are price gouging and they got caught doing it. They're getting held legally liable of it. They will be held accountable for it. And that's the matter of the fact. Okay. So if you shop at Kroger, maybe don't do that, everybody. Just a recommendation. But then again, we do see this across the board. Look at PepsiCo. PepsiCo, they increased cost on Gatorade, shrunk down the size about 2 to 4 ounces. That is price gouging. Apple's iPhones, same exact thing. There's no difference in the iPhone. Zero difference, right? They talk about, the processing chip and the blah, blah, blah. They hiked up the cost of the iPhone $300. There's nothing in the iPhone between a year ago and a year later that changed the iPhone that significantly to hike it up $300, all right? That's price gouging on technology. So you see this price gouging across the board, and Kamala Harris has a plan to ban that practice outright. She's saying, we're going to pass a bill in Congress where you have to stay on par with inflation. If inflation is 2.4%, you can increase your cost 2.4%. You're not going to increase your cost 24% because that's not reasonable. Donald Trump has no such plan to do such a thing. So can you tell me why he wouldn't want to ban that practice of price gouging if it's leading to middle-class Americans getting scammed effectively?
I think his idea is to, like he talks about, making manufacturing in America is going to help America more by having, and for one, because if you have manufacturing more in America than overseas, that's more money in America, right? We're doing it ourselves, right? So we make more money by manufacturing here in America, and that should lower the price of everything else. Am I wrong?
But this isn't what we saw during his first term, right? I mean, for example, Donald Trump created on a monthly average, again, I don't blame him for the pandemic. If I'm counting pandemic jobs lost, it would be 178,000 jobs. I apologize. Yeah. It would be negative 30,000 jobs. He'd be in the fucking negatives, right? So I'm not going to blame him for that. That's not fair. He ain't caused the pandemic. So on a monthly average, not counting pandemic jobs lost, he was at 178,000 jobs per month, right? Biden Harris, okay? They never played with tariffs. They played with policy. They gave us the CHIPS and Science Act, the infrastructure package. And because of those legislative deals, they gave us about an average of 400,000 jobs per month. If I was counting pandemic jobs created, it would be like double that. But I'm not going to credit them for pandemic jobs created because that's not fair either.
Yeah.
Yet that's still double the amount of jobs that Donald Trump created. And then they brought chip manufacturing back to America. They didn't have to play with price gouging. They didn't have to play with tariffs. They just legislated. They went to Congress and they gave them policy. Congress passed it and it created jobs. So they did it the right way, right? And this is something we see with Donald Trump and his administration, right? Donald Trump got so used to doing things on his own instead of working as a team. And that's not a good thing, right? I think he thought of himself as a CEO instead of a president, and that's a problem. For example, he said that he was going to pass a bill to replace the ACA, but he didn't want to negotiate with Congress, so he didn't. He said he was going to give us an infrastructure package. He didn't want to work with Congress, so we didn't get it. Kamala and Joe worked with Congress. We got a bipartisan infrastructure package. Donald Trump said he was going to build the wall. He didn't want to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Nancy and Chuck said that they wanted 1,500 to 2,000 border agents to monitor his wall. Trump said, I don't want the border agents. Give me the wall or we're not doing this. End of discussion. They said, then you're not doing it. So he didn't get the wall. He didn't get the wall. And the last one, right? Donald Trump got so used to signing by executive order because he didn't want to negotiate with Congress and get legislation on the ground. He, for example, signed into executive order a bump stock ban, right? In 2017, 2018. This bump stock ban was overturned in June of this year by his own Supreme Court because it was in direct violation of the Constitution. If instead of signing an executive order, Donald Trump went to Congress and said, hey, we need to tackle Second Amendment related violence. I'm choosing my words wisely so TikTok doesn't get mad, man. But Second Amendment related violence, maybe they could have got a bill on the ground and told him right from the get-go, hey, man, what you're looking to do with your bump stock ban is not constitutional. You're going to get in trouble for this. Because now, since he signed by executive order instead of working with Congress, he is the first modern day president to have violated the Constitution, according to his own Supreme Court as of June of this year. And more ironically, it wasn't just a random amendment or something in the Constitution. It wasn't, it was the Second Amendment, which is what he's been running on and now refuses to talk about because he recognizes he effed up. And we see this in his rhetoric now, right? Donald Trump says he wants to be a dictator on day one. He talks about like having this sort of authoritarian power. That no, dude, that's not how a president works, right? Listen, if you want to be a CEO, go be a CEO. But actually, I guess he can't really be a CEO because he went bankrupt 6 times, and I don't know anybody's going to take him. But that's not how a president acts. Kamala Harris acts like a president. She gave us the infrastructure package that was bipartisan. She gave us a border bill that was bipartisan. She has a record on this.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on Trump having the CEO mentality for sure, and all about the dollars and all that shit. And I don't hate Kamala and Biden or anything like that. Biden is kind of out of his mind, though, of course now. But
I don't like Biden.
Yeah,
I like Kamala.
He's not running, right? Yeah, Kamala is, and I don't know. I've seen a lot of interviews with Kamala, and when she gets answered questions, Kamala, when she gets answered questions, she fucking kind of doesn't answer him. She kind of
no, I disagree, man. Dude, I got a problem with that.
Short clips, but
nah, man, I got a problem with that. Listen, watch the interviews in their entirety, right? Kamala answers she answers the question. I spend a lot of time looking at. I've written speeches for like statewide candidates and statewide elected leaders and stuff in the past, and I understand how Kamala. She's a prosecutor. Like, man, the straight up language and rhetoric she uses, it is that of a prosecutor. It's beautifully done. It sounds like she's still an attorney general. Beautifully done. I want to recognize, though, that when Kamala Harris speaks in her interviews, right, you look at the first presidential debate, okay? She was asked a question right from the start, and she decided to speak about her family life and her upbringing, and then she answered the question. But before she even answered the question, simply because you have a middle-class black woman on stage talking about her upbringing, some people took to Twitter and was like, she's not answering the question, blah, 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 blah. Like, give her a minute, man. You go to the first vice presidential debate. J.D. Vance does the same exact thing. Talks about his upbringing, talks about his family life, and then doesn't answer the question, but jumps right into what he wants to talk about. Instead of, criticizing him, those same people who criticize Kamala go to Twitter again and are like, J.D. Vance, his upbringing, it's so beautiful, and a gorgeous wife. And yeah, listen, man, if you want to support their upbringing and you want to talk like that, that's fine, but then treat him equally, right? If J.D. Vance wants to talk about his upbringing, cool, like he should, 100%. I want to hear about his upbringing. Then if Kamala's going to do that, don't criticize her for it, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
And so we got to recognize, like, she answers the questions. People just don't give her a chance to listen to the entire thing. But then they listen to J.D. Vance. We got to stop doing that. We got to treat our candidates as equals if we're going to do that, At least when it comes to rhetoric. And I'm saying for J.D. Vance. I'm not saying for Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't on the same playing field as Kamala. Because you have Kamala Harris, right, who is the prosecutor. Then you got Donald Trump, who is a criminal. I don't care what he has to say.
Yeah, kind of opposite of worlds there, huh? So So he's an actual convicted felon, right?
34 counts. That's right.
34 counts. It's just crazy how people like still want to vote for him, against Kamala, sorry.
Well, you said yourself
Even
that
though-
you were going to vote for him, weren't you?
Oh, I already did.
See that right there. But
Mhm.
so you still wanted to vote for him. I think what's important to recognize, man, is this isn't, listen, if this was Joe Biden and Nikki Haley, right? And I voted for Democrats, I voted for Republicans. I wasn't a big fan of Joe Biden. Still not really a big fan of Joe Biden. He's done some good work, but let's recognize that Joe Biden was always meant to be the transition president. So when Joe Biden originally said he was going to run for a second term, I had a massive issue with that. Like he was never supposed to do that. He was supposed to get his 4 years in so that we could get out of the pandemic and then get up a younger president. We got to recognize that Joe Biden in 2020, I wasn't going to vote for him. I wasn't going to vote until he picked Kamala as his vice president. When he picked Kamala as his vice president, I wanted a prosecutor in the vice presidency. I wanted an attorney general who led the largest Department of Justice, second only to the U.S. Department of Justice. I wanted that district attorney in there, so I voted for Joe Biden. Now, hell yeah, I'm going to be voting for Kamala Harris because she is the candidate. You MAGA Republicans had your chance to make Nikki Haley your candidate. If this was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden, Nikki Haley would have won. And yet, you picked the felon, you picked the sexual abuser, you picked the civil fraudster who was found guilty on 34 felony accounts by a unanimous jury that his own lawyers appointed. Can we all think about the gravity of that? He paid Republican lawyers to appoint a jury, and they still found him guilty because he was guilty, obviously. There's no reason to vote for a felon. I think that what you got to do here, you vote for Kamala, or at least keep a little bit of integrity. If you can't get yourself to vote for Kamala, then just listen. If you really can't get yourself to vote for Kamala, the prosecutor, and you just have something really against her, then keep a little bit of integrity and don't vote, and then try again in 4 years and pick a candidate who's more reasonable. Robert F. Kennedy, dude, what are you talking about now?
No. So about
dude, I don't even think that guy knows where he is.
Yeah, I know he's kind of. But the rape allegations, I was watching what was the lady? There's a few of them, right? There's more than just one woman, right? On the rape allegations against Trump.
Oh, there are numerous allegations, but we would want to stay on the one in relation to E. Jean Carroll because that's what was prosecuted
that
here.
one.
I want to say first off, a massive thank you to Darlene and a massive thank you to Carrie. Thank you for the love on Cash App. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Carrie. Continue, sorry, man.
No worries. When did that take place?
I got one more. Jen, thank you so much for the $10 on Venmo. I appreciate the love, Jen. Thank you so much. Listen, man. The charges were filed before he announced his candidacy. So let's not step into this territory of saying he was politically persecuted in any sense, right?
Right.
Do we understand he was not politically persecuted?
I just want to know what year it was.
Do you understand that Donald Trump was not politically persecuted?
I don't understand if he was or wasn't. Was he?
I mean, it should be easy to recognize this because, again, for example, Donald Trump has committed numerous crimes in various fields. This isn't him getting charged for the same thing over and over again, right? He committed sexual abuse. He was found guilty by a unanimous jury appointed by his own lawyers. He was also found guilty on 34 felony counts for falsifying business records, checks, and statements. Unanimous jury appointed by his lawyers. He has bad lawyers, and he is a bad man. And bad don't create good, so he was not going to be found innocent. Donald Trump committed the crime. He has to be held accountable for that. We can't just start this new standard of saying, well, you know what, if he's a presidential candidate, or if he announces that he's running for president after he's charged, then we got to let him go, or else it's political persecution. Man, in that logic, why wouldn't everybody just turn around and say, oh, yeah, I know that I just robbed that bank, so now I'm running for president?
Yeah, no, you have a point.
And also, by this logic, Hunter Biden's a convicted felon. Yeah? He committed the crime.
Yes.
For all I care, Hunter Biden could go tossed into a prison cell. I really don't care, right? But we got to recognize if you're going to commit a crime, you ought to be held accountable for it. He is being held accountable for it. Would it not be political persecution then, by this logic, for Hunter Biden as well? If it were for Donald Trump? I mean, Hunter Biden's more politically relevant. His father was running for president at the time of his charges. Would Hunter Biden not, too, be the victim of political persecution?
I think so, yeah.
Wasn't. And that's a Democrat saying Hunter Biden's he was not politically persecuted. I can see why some people say he was. I disagree. He was held accountable for his crimes. Same with Donald Trump. It's not political persecution.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing with the laptop and everything. And so I don't mean to grind your gears by bringing this name up, but I was watching Charlie Kirk, and he was talking about
the weird guy who smells like this.
Yeah, but dude, I think he's cool. I don't think he lies about shit. I think he speaks straight facts.
Hey, I'm gonna listen. Some people disagree with some people. We don't see eye to eye. All I'm saying is dentists can't be that expensive. Melanie, thank you so much for the $50. That is beyond kind, Melanie. Thank you so much. I promise you, those funds are going to be used as we travel to swing state these next few days, meet and voters. So thank you so much, Melanie, for the love. And also, Melanie said that she voted blue in Georgia. Can we get some W's for Georgia in the chat? Georgia's really pulling through. I mean, Georgia, legit. Dude, have you seen Georgia's numbers, man?
No.
Dude, they're exceeding the vote by mail ballot numbers from like 2020. That's insane. Like, that's insane. I can't wait to see what that turnout's going to be like. I feel like they got to be well over 2020 by now. Anyway. Oh, he ran away. He ran away. Can we get some cow emojis in the chat, please? We got a runner. We got a runner. Let's get some cow emojis in the chat. Let's get some cow emojis in the chat. Let's get up our next guest. Again, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request and let's have a conversation about that. If you're voting for Kamala Harris, please do hit that like button, hit the share button. Help us get to 500,000 likes. I want to say a massive thank you to JJ. I just received your message and your Venmo. That is beyond kind. Thank you so much for the love. Hello, Leanne. Are you voting for Donald Trump? I'm going to do something that makes the MAGA Republicans so mad. I'm going to use a lip balm. And it's like they see lip balm or they hear what a lip balm is and they immediately go berserk. It's like when you give a gremlin food after midnight. They see lip balm and they're like, ah! So, Leanne, are you voting for Donald Trump? All right, let's get up our next guest. Folks, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request and let's have a conversation. Don't be shy. Coming up. I don't bite. Well. Depends. If you're nice. All right, this one's not coming up. Let's get up our next guest. Just a bit. Anthony, hello. Are you voting for Donald Trump? All right, we're going to move on. If you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest requests. All right, this one's not coming up. Doug, hi. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
I am.
Gotcha. And why do you hate America? I mean, I'm sorry. Why are you voting for Donald Trump? Same thing. What am I talking about?
It's the only smart thing to do.
That's the smart thing to do. Okay. Why is that the smart thing to do? Can you break that down?
Mainly because, he's not a warmonger.
You're listening to football in the background right now?
Yeah, I know. That's a little mask for you, I know, but I turned it off.
Who are you rooting for?
Yeah, I really wasn't rooting for anybody, but it's actually the Rams and the Seahawks were playing.
Okay. I was keeping a close eye on the Eagles game, but then I kind of just walked away because it was getting really competitive. Man, if you don't mind, if you can turn down the TV a little bit, I would greatly appreciate it.
I turned it off.
All right, cool. All right, so tell me more. So why is that the smart thing to do to vote for Donald Trump?
Oh, wow. Just so many. Border, economy. He's not a warmonger. He doesn't support the warmongers. I mean, that right there alone is four major big reasons. I mean, she's a freaking warmonger.
Well, hold on. That's not right now. That's not right now, man. That's not right. Hold on. First off, that statistically isn't right, right? So we got to recognize that you have Kamala Harris on one side saying, for example, in Israel and Gaza, that she wants a ceasefire and two-state solution and to bring home the hostages. Donald Trump saying no such thing. He's not for the ceasefire. He says finish them. Okay. You can't just dehome the Palestinian people. That leads to a regional war, right? We got to be realistic in the solution here. When Kamala says that she chooses diplomacy and Donald Trump says that he wants to choose a regional war, that would factually and categorically make him the warmonger. Look at Ukraine and Russia, for example. What is Donald Trump's solution to Ukraine and Russia? You tell me.
Well, it probably would have never happened if he was in office, for one
That's
thing.
not
He
true.
probably wouldn't have been giving them all the billions of dollars that we've given them.
To be clear, hold on. The billions of dollars. Excuse me.
As soon as he leads office,
The money coming. The money coming. The money for Ukraine.
Yeah,
the
baby,
money for
look.
Ukraine. Hold on. Don't get too excited now. You know,
I
the
know,
money
I'm all
for Ukraine
excited.
is coming from Mike Johnson, not Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's a Republican Speaker of the House. The Congress allocates funding through weaponry for Ukraine. All right?
True that.
That's Mike Johnson. Now, that would
he's the
be
one
Donald
that
Trump, that wouldn't be Joe Biden, and it wouldn't
If
be
you
Kamala
wanna
Harris.
Put that smoke and
Now,
mirrors on.
I want to understand as well, when you talk about the conflict not happening under Donald Trump, let's recognize Russia invaded Ukraine because Ukraine was on the doorstep of NATO, and Russia didn't want them involved with NATO. This also in part has to do with 2019, when Vladimir Putin said he wanted to rebuild the Soviet Union, which is exactly why Poland... Excuse me. Maybe I stuttered. I get it coughed, but you don't got to jump in, man. You got to recognize here that Donald...
You got to shut up.
You got to recognize that Vladimir Putin...
Out your ass.
Excuse me.
You're talking out your ass.
All right. Vladimir Putin said he wanted to rebuild the Soviet Union, which is why Poland is building up their arsenal, weaponry, and walls to keep Vladimir Putin out should Ukraine crumble. Now, you're saying that Donald Trump doesn't have a conflict? That Donald Trump doesn't have a solution? That Donald Trump's going to what exactly when it comes to Ukraine and Russia? Can you please tell us? Because you haven't given me anything to work with here, bud. Where do I go from here? What is Donald Trump's solution to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Because again, Ukraine was invaded because
you're about
they were
to
looking
see
to
it.
join NATO.
Hold
on. If they did that under Donald Trump's
you're gonna let
presidency,
me talk.
if they did that under Donald Trump's presidency, Ukraine would have been invaded then, right? Like Ukraine was invaded now, not because of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. They were invaded because they were looking to join NATO. If they did that under Donald Trump, they would have been invaded then. It still wouldn't have been Donald Trump's fault either. All right? So now let's get back into this. What I need you to do is tell me, what is Donald Trump's solution to end the invasion of Ukraine? Please do tell me. All right, can you hurry up? Dude, I know the cell phones are hard to work sometimes when you reach a certain age, but at some point you gotta ask yourself when it's time to, what's
if
his
you want to
solution?
talk Ukraine's really fucked up, and that's why most of them.
I'm telling you,
Most of them
tell me what
actually
his
live.
solution
Are you
is.
going to let me?
What
talk?
is his solution? You didn't tell me the solution.
I'm
You missed
getting to
part.
that. You're
Get
about
to that
see
now. I
his
don't got to do the whole
solution.
song and dance, right?
You're about to see his solution.
I don't want to wait and see it. I want you to tell me what it is.
He'll probably give Putin a bunch of that fucking because it's a fucked up.
All right, so
criminal
there you go.
act
So you're
as it-
suggesting that land from Ukraine, a sovereign nation, should be handed over to Russia. That teaches Russia that for everybody they invade, the United States will give him part of the country he chose to invade. So what happens now when Russia says, oh, we just made out, we just won here, right? We just won land from Ukraine. Let's go to Poland. Well, now you are fucking with NATO. So now what?
Tell me why
Hold on, so
all
you're
the
suggesting,
Ukrainians.
Doug, you
tell
just
me why
suggested-
all the Ukrainians live in.
Doug, you just suggested that Donald Trump would commit a genocide in Ukraine, hand land over to Russia, and what? That would lead to another invasion, this time in Poland, and then you are invading NATO, which gets the whole globe involved in a worldwide conflict. Take a step back. Second issue, you're suggesting that Donald Trump would take funding away from Ukraine. The funding is through weaponry, and that's not going to be taken away. You will continue supporting them with that weaponry. You have no choice. You have no choice in the matter. Not a single option. Donald Trump, because he is this ignorant, can keep running around saying he's going to take weaponry and that funding away from Ukraine. He can't and he won't. He maybe doesn't know that because he's ignorant, but he will figure that out as Mike Johnson explains to him that is impossible as we signed the Budapest Memorandum with Ukraine in the 90s. I get you ran away and we'll ring the cowbell in a moment, but I want to finish this topic. Donald Trump keeps saying he's going to defund Ukraine. You don't get to do that, right? Here's my message. Here's my message to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I get you're a fucking idiot, but you don't get to take money from Ukraine because the Budapest Memorandum was signed in the 90s as an agreement between Ukraine and the United States. So we denuclearized Ukraine and gave them weaponry should the time come that they'd be invaded by Russia, and the time has come. So now we have to own up to our end of the bargain, or we can re-nuclearize Ukraine and give them nukes. Now, I don't want to see a nuclear war. I assume, chat, you don't want to see a nuclear war, because that's gonna, you know, that's pretty bad, yeah? You agree? You don't want to see a nuclear war. Okay. So then don't vote for Donald Trump, who doesn't know about the Budapest Memorandum. Like, you want to be our president, but you don't know about a simple agreement you had with Ukraine in the 90s? Come on, man. What is that? Let's get up our next guest. First, let's ring the cowbell and get some cow emojis in the chat. We got a runner. Doug's a runner. No. Doug's a runner. Let's get up our next guest. Again, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest requests. If you're voting for Kamala Harris, folks, please hit that like button. Categorically, I think. By 5:45, we should be able to hit 500,000 likes if everybody's tapping on their screen right now. So please tap on your screen. Help us get to 500,000 likes. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Hi. I'm sorry. I joined by accident, but
you're good.
I'm also
Thanks for coming up. Let's get up our next guest. I want to say a massive thank you to Stormbringer. I just received your message on PayPal. Thank you so much for the love, and Brandy as well. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it, Brandy. Hello, guest. Are you voting for? Are you voting for Donald Trump? Where's my inhaler, man? Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump? All right, he can't hear. So let's get up our next one. Thank you for the money gun, Heather. I appreciate it. How you doing, Heather? You doing okay? Chantel Owen says, as an Aussie, why Camilla? And they spelled Kamala wrong. Well, Chantel, my question to you is, as an American, why illiterate? You say, as an Aussie, why Camilla? I say, as an American, why illiterate? Greg, hi, are you voting for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not, and I live in Oklahoma.
I appreciate you coming up, Greg. I am just looking to talk to opposition right now. Oh, we have a Tashika raid. Where's Tashika? Tashika. Oh, Tashika's coming over? Is Tashika coming over? Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Hello.
Yo, I heard the baby in the background. I'm like, ain't no way you're giving your baby your phone to come fight me. Dude, oh my gosh. All I heard was the baby. I'm like, hello, are you voting for Trump? And I just hear the kid go, ah, bah, bah. I'm like,
oh, no,
all right. You voting for Donald Trump? Got me off guard.
I'm going to, but the thing is...
All right, let's start that off. So why are you voting for a convicted felon, sexual abuser, and civil fraudster?
But the question is, did he get convicted? Is he convicted of those things?
Yeah, man. He was convicted on 34 felony counts by a unanimous bipartisan jury appointed by his own lawyers.
Candidate, you can't be like a felon charged with anything like that.
What? No. There's nothing in the Constitution that says a felon can't run for the presidency. I'm sure if the founding fathers, founding mothers, all those generations ago, had a little bit more foresight, more of a thought process, they probably would have thrown something in there about it, but they didn't have that information, so they didn't really include something about felons not being able to run for the presidency. Yeah, I'm sure if they thought that we were going to be dumb enough to put, or well, if your party more respectfully was going to put, was dumb enough to let's restart.
I watched this stuff.
Let's get back into this. I feel as though, and you have to recognize that there's nothing in the Constitution that says a felon can't run for the presidency. I think that if our founding mothers and founding fathers knew that your party was going to be dumb enough to put a felon into the Republican nomination for the presidency, they probably would have put something in the Constitution about it. But, that's on you, right? I don't think that our founding mothers and founding fathers had the foresight to recognize that you guys would be that stupid.
Border crisis thing right now, you think that's all fun and games and shit. And
not a border crisis, man.
It is a border crisis.
No, it ain't. What state are you from?
So three. I'm from Kentucky. So what about?
You're from Kentucky and you're talking about the border crisis, dude. You're closer to Canada. What are you talking about? All right, let's. Hold on, give me a minute. Let me get this out. We're talking about Kentucky. You go, I'm from Kentucky. Let me tell you about the border crisis. Get off the high horse, man. Let me better understand this. You understand that there are fewer border crossings today than there were under Donald Trump. And you understand that if you're curious about solving the border issue, and I do agree there is an issue, not a crisis, then you ought to vote for Kamala Harris. Because Kamala Harris said that she was going to pass a bipartisan border deal, and she put one on the ground that would have accomplished everything you would look for in a deal to solve the border issue. Donald Trump blocked that very bill and refused to put it into law because Donald Trump would rather run on an issue instead of solve it. All right. Do you know what was in that bipartisan border deal? And do you know what Donald Trump's border policy is? Hello to everybody from Tashika's Raid. It's awesome to see y'all. Love you folks so much. If you haven't already, to the folks who are just joining us, hit that follow button in the top left corner and join our family.
And just overtalk people. But I like.
Yeah, this isn't me over talking you. Let's recognize. If I wanted to over talk you, you would recognize it. Okay, I'm Italian, so I might just talk a little bit faster than you, and I'm more intelligent than you. So maybe that is, maybe that is a little worrisome and scary to you. But that's fine. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps and talk about what Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's border deals are respective to their candidacies. Hurry up. Go ahead.
No, we're going to dwindle back on this because you talked about Kentucky, the border crossing.
What is Donald Trump's border stance?
Think about this.
I'm not going to head back. I don't need you to harp on something. I don't care about Kentucky. So let's get back into the candidates at hand. Donald Trump. What is Donald Trump's border policy? What is Donald Trump's border policy? What is Donald Trump's border policy?
Show me the
What is Donald Trump's border policy? What is Donald Trump's border policy? What is Donald Trump's border policy?
You can't pull the number.
What is Donald Trump's border policy?
Number up on the screen.
What is Donald Trump's border policy? 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 This is my last time asking you.
Telling me. Okay, keep asking.
All right, cool. Let's move on then. You're not going to answer the question? Goodbye. Donald Trump has no border policy. That was the answer. Kamala Harris does. She's going to put... Well, actually, I'm not even going to say it, and you guys know exactly why.
Hey.
Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
No, I already voted for Kamala. I live in
W's in the chat, please. I am just looking to talk to opposition right now. We are going to be talking to Kamala's supporters a little bit later. Right now, it's just opposition. Okay. Randy. Randy ran away. Randy ran away. All right, folks, in the bottom right-hand corner here, you see the account that says Johnny Palmadessa. That's my backup account. Hit the follow button on that backup account and join our little family over there. All right, that's my backup account. So again, to the 3.9 thousand people here, except the Trump supporters. You Trump supporters don't got to follow it. I'd rather you not follow it because, no offense, but anywhere that you guys follow, the smell of garbage seems to be. So in the bottom right corner, though, follow that account. That's my backup account. Let's get up our next guest. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you for the love. Thank you, Mark, for the love as well. Trying to get up our next guest. Again, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Slowly but surely. Hello, Christine. Are you voting for Donald Trump? And Christine ran away. That was quick. That was quick. Good conversation, Christine. It was very productive. It was a good conversation. I liked it. Good conversation. Felt productive. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump? I want to say a massive thank you to Marie. I just received your message on PayPal. Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it, Marie. Guest, hello. Are you voting for Donald Trump? Yes or no? You have... Okay, and they ran away. Folks, if you are voting for Donald Trump, join my guest request. Let's go. I don't need some keyboard warriors in my comment section crying about MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Don't do that nonsense. Don't be such a snowflake. If you're voting for Donald Trump, use your big boy and big girl voice and get into my guest requests. I want to have a conversation. I don't want to hear about your nonsense in my comment section, right? I should see Democrats and Kamala supporters in my comment section. I should see all the Trump supporters in my guest requests. All right, Leaf Eater, why are you voting for the criminal?
Hey, I'm sorry. I just was wondering, what did you say about your backup account?
So the backup account's in the bottom right corner, and I'm just telling folks that if they haven't already to give it a follow. Thank you for coming up. Let's get up our next guest. I want to say a massive thank you to Brandy and Kayla. I just received your message on PayPal. Thank you for the love. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump? Okay, sounds about right. Melania, you have a great day. I'm glad that you found a Marine that does it for you, because Donald Trump, we all know he doesn't. Let's get up our next guest. We all know that Donald Trump ain't doing it for it. I'm going to do something right now that's going to trigger so many MAGA Republicans. I got something called a lip balm. It's the reason, they don't use lip balm, which is the reason why they never get kissed. But hopefully that just triggered a lot of MAGA Republicans. I think it's funny. Next time I'm going to whip out an entire lipstick and just use that instead. It's so funny to trigger like MAGA Republicans like that. Patrick, how are you voting for Donald Trump?
I don't really know, man.
All right, I don't think you know where you are. So let's get up our next guest. Karina, hi, you voting for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I already voted
For Donald Trump?
for him. Yeah.
Gotcha. Why do you hate America? I mean, why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Because I cannot support any demonic acts. Absolutely not. With the whole aborting kids and all
Hold
that
on.
stuff.
What are you
All that
talking
women's
about?
rights.
What are you
Whatever you
talking
want to
about? What are you talking about? You're talking about what? Somebody committing a sin? All right. Donald Trump committed rape. Donald Trump was found liable of sexual abuse, right? You're saying that giving women the right to choose,
Maybe at the
that
end of the day,
is demonic? Man, get out of here.
don't
You're out of your
care.
minds. Next up, that's some crazy shit right there. Man, you're voting for somebody who committed rape. What are you talking about? You're saying that giving women the right to choose is demonic, but that voting for a sexual abuser, that's normal, and what, in the Holy Spirit of the Christian Bible? Huh? Okay, come on. Like, at least act like a human being, right? At least act like you're normal. Folks, if you haven't already, in the bottom right corner here, I got my backup account. Please follow that backup account. Join our little family. Would love to have you as part of the team there, just in case we ever need it. Thank you so much for the galaxy, folks. I appreciate the love. Let's get up our next guest. All right, no MAGA Republicans are coming up right now. What's up? MAGA Republicans, get into my guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. Don't be shy. Come on in. They got nothing to say. That's why they know their candidate's about to lose and they don't want to own up to it. All right, so MAGA apparently recognizes that Donald Trump is about to lose the election, which is why they won't come up. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
I am.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yo, you got a lot of wind in the background.
Yeah, California is crazy today, man. Windy.
All right, so you want to get to a place where there's not wind?
Yeah, I'll give them a place where there's not wind. So the reason why I'm voting for
I need to
Donald
hear
Trump-
your voice. Hold on. I need to hear your voice and the wind at the same time. It can only handle so much annoyance at once, if you know what I mean. So let's give it a second until the wind stops. Great. So why are you voting for the criminal?
He's going to avenge Peanut, the squirrel. Come on.
Okay. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump? 3, 2, 1. Goodbye. Again, if you're voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation about it. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
Yes, I am.
That's disgusting. When were you born?
I was born.
Hold on one second. Let me fix the mic. Do you hear me
I
all right?
love raping women.
Pardon
I
me.
love raping women.
Fetus deletus. Goodbye. Magic is real in America, folks. You gotta love the magic. The magic is real in America. The magic is real in America, everybody. You gotta love the magic. A little fetus deletus. Fetus deletus is a very nice spell, but it is banned in Alabama. You cannot use fetus deletus in Alabama. I've tried many, many, many times. Get you in a lot of trouble. Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald J. Trump, the convicted felon of these United States?
My fault. My daughter must have clicked. I'm not
That's
voting
okay.
for him.
Hocus pocus, and they're gone. Let's get up our next guest. If you're voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Let's have a conversation. It's going to be very nice. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge, huge conversation. Hello. I said hello. All right, you take too long. Okay, this one's not coming up. Folks, if you... oh my gosh, that one's hurting my lungs. Folks, if you're voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. Join the guest request. It's going to be a great conversation. Johnny's a very nice guy. You go to China, you look at Russia, and everybody agrees. Johnny's very nice, a very nice guy.
It's just not making any sense.
Hello, guest. Are you voting for Donald Trump?
And questioned by a colleague.
Okay, we're going to get up the next guest. What's going on with these people today? Folks, again, if you're voting for Donald Trump, join the guest request. We're going to do one more, and then we'll probably have to do a live stream restart. All right, here's what we're going to do. Hit the follow button in the top left corner. Top left corner of the live stream, right up here. Hit that follow button and join our little family. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, on that little account there, accept the MAGA Republicans. Don't hit follow MAGA Republicans. I don't need your follow. Because where you guys follow, the smell of trash seems to join you, and I don't want that. I don't want the whole rank-ass trash spewing that radiant odor around my live stream. So again, if you're voting for Kamala, top left corner, hit that follow button. There's also an account in the bottom right-hand corner. That is my backup account. Please make sure that you're following that backup account as well. We are going to take about a 5-minute break, and then we are going to jump right back into it. But we're going to have to restart the live stream because the MAGA Republicans, they're not coming up, right? They're just not coming up. So they're running scared. So we're going to restart so that we could get some more guests in here. Again, if you haven't already, I'm going to count to 10. We're going to count to 10. Then we're going to end the live. So again, hit the top left corner, hit the follow button. Bottom right-hand corner, follow that backup account. That way you can be part of our community. You'll get notified that we're live again. And then we can jump back in and have some more conversations. We're going to be back in about 5 minutes. But I want to restart the live so that we could get back into the algorithm. Mind you, heads up, folks. Earlier today, as of earlier today, 3 Republicans flipped. 3 Republicans flipped. They will be voting on Tuesday. 3 Republicans flipped. And I will also be helping them get to their polling location. So that's pretty exciting. And so we should definitely be proud of that work. I want to say again, a massive thank you to everybody who supported me in my bio, whether it be Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Thank you for the love. Know that those funds are being used to support my travels over these next couple of days as we continue meeting voters in person and online, turning out the vote for Kamala Harris. So we're going to be back in about 5 minutes with more conversations.